So for me, I'm interested in, well, everybody knows I'm watching Trans Jamaica. Certainly waiting to see how things will settle after the recent dividend would have been paid. But in terms of other companies, I'm very interested recently in seeing how things develop for Tropical, all right? Because would have had Alexander on earlier this year, and just from the conversation we had, just from what we saw of this acquisition for Rose Batteries, I think that is going to be a significant increase in their revenues. I think it will be good for the business, and I think it's probably the start of more to come. Of course, after they would have settled in, gotten some quarters under their belt, etc. But I get the impression that they're looking to be at least in contention to acquire additional companies at least every couple of years. That's what I've been seeing from them. And of course, not every potential acquisition works out, but from the perspective that they seem to be intent on growing the business, right? Like so when I had that conversation with Alexander, it seems like he's trying to position the company to be in a different category in terms of revenues, different category in terms of profits and the dividends being paid. So I think this new company, especially if they're doing conservative to US standards, that may still be significant compared to what it would look like for Tropical's revenues now. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. And of course, they would have mentioned they're looking to raise capital to close out the transaction. We don't know what it will look like as yet. And I do think just some of the other things that would have been mentioned before in terms of opportunities for the energy sector. And I see where there may be some opportunities for them in terms of maybe from not just the provision of products, but maybe the servicing or recycling of the batteries that are used, etc. Just something there. I think there must be some sort of synergies or opportunities that they can form in terms of partnerships. And yeah, that's what I'll say for now. So any thoughts on Tropical or feedback from you guys?
So well, one of the things I would say is the same NHT points we spoke about, that NHT giving those low interest rate loans will likely help out Tropical a lot.
Yeah.
So, and what else for them? I'd say, yeah, I mean, I think that they will essentially benefit a lot from the increased renewable energy and stuff like that. The government, I think, will continue to give more incentives. We saw where, year before last, they reduced or moved the GCT on lithium-ion batteries, and then that's where Tropical is really deals with. So that was very good for them. And I mean, at that, yeah, I'm pretty. And the other thing I should mention, I think it was your interview, Jermaine, with was it Alexander Melville, about when they had acquired Rose. He said that they are likely going to do an equity raise or a secondary offering to help with that acquisition. And I think you had asked him the size of the raise, and he had said at the time there's even a chance technically that they may have to go to main market because of the amount of money they'd have to raise. But if you look at what happened recently, the junior market limit being raised,
exactly,
that could be very beneficial for them.
When that article came out, as in the notice, I sent it to a bunch of CEOs that I've been having frequent conversations with. And so that may give them more options in terms of how they seek to raise money. Because we've seen a few companies, Paramount, Fosrich, issue bonds to raise capital. And I believe if they had the opportunity to get additional equity, maybe they wouldn't take up the bond option, right? So yeah.
Okay, even Fosrich did a rights issue late last year?
August 2023.
Yeah, if the junior market limit had been raised, maybe because I mean the amount of money that they had, it was a very, I don't know if you guys remember the exact amount.
Yeah, as nothing.
Yeah, it's very tiny.
Yeah, man.
So yeah.
And that, if you remember, that's what Jeremy Barnes had said. The reason why they're not issuing dividends for FESCO is because of that same cap. So maybe they will raise capital soon as well.
Jermaine, remember that FESCO is also in the growth stage with respect to LPGs, so that is why you heard him.
Them as well.
Yeah, so that's why I mentioned that we're redirecting capital towards that great opportunity.
Yeah.
But really, Tropical, so just for context, in that same interview with Alexander, he mentioned that Rose is quite, big relative to Tropical's own size. And the reason for the equity raise is to really deleverage the transaction. So the deal would have already been concluded, in terms of acquisition. But in this case, it's really just to reduce the debt associated with in terms of completing that whole deal, And by reducing the debt, it gives them more space to potentially raise new, cheaper debt if needed for, other deals in the future.
Yeah.
And then to give further perspective to that whole situation and dynamic, even with the junior market going to $750 million, it still comes on the end of the day, how much does this company actually need and where are they in their tax break cycle? And let me tell you why I say that. So in the case of MFS, they really don't have any material benefit to staying on the junior market. And let me tell you why I say that. MFS should have been C2W, which I said back in 2012. That was more than 10 years ago. The tax break is over. And you have a couple of companies which are in that similar position whereby because the tax break has basically fully ended. For them in the junior market is at this point more so about just spending the same listing fees and not facing any fines for breaching any rules. So for example, Nusset Express, their tax break officially ended on January 14. So they're paying the full 25% income tax rate right now. And you have other companies, for example, like your Mail Pack, your Lab, your Lumber Depot, all listed back in 2019. So they're going to be paying 50% of normal rate right now. So some of these companies, depending where they're in their cycle, it might make sense for them to raise that additional equity and go to main market. But for others, that it just might still be lucrative enough for them to stay on the junior market and stay within the confines of the $750 million limit that is being proposed. So it all comes down to the dynamics of everything. Because I point to Jermaine, Fastwitch, for example, they listed in 2017. They have another 3 years in effect of being, 50% tax remission, basically. For them to basically surrender that, opportunity, it means that they would really need to have some level of deal that makes.
They're building that super center, yeah, man.
Well, then they say them. Remember that they're probably going to outfit it internally, but the property itself is likely, based on what I can last recall, either the land or the building itself is going to own by GK's pension fund.
Yeah, man. That's what he had said for until like 2060 something or something like that.
Yeah, basically like a 1-3 rate where you just occupy the property, pay your lease, and you eventually own it in FS at the end. And I just saw Philip mention about the whole junior market cap in terms of MFS. So yeah, that is a valid point. I agree. But as in the case of MFS, other companies might not have that same personal constraints to staying on the junior market to list another subsidiary in the future. It all comes down to different situations.
Yeah, man. Gotcha.